Hello Nigeria, hello Africa. It's yet another day on Iron Issues. Today coming to you live from SpectrumTV. And of course, we're broadcasting live from here, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. I'm delighted to be here with you today as we talk about some of the issues bothering Nigerians. My name is Francis Oyima Edet. Welcome to Eyes on Issues. Today, we'll be looking at three focal areas, which of course is generating a lot of reactions from Nigerians. The very first, since about 2 weeks ago when we witnessed the announcement of a military coup in Niger Republic, there's been a bit of a mixed feelings in the Nigerian society, particularly considering the fact that our own president, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, is not just the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but also the chairman of ECOWAS. Now, shortly after the military junta took over power in Niger Republic and the democratically elected president Bazoum was placed in house arrest, a move that has been widely condemned across board by ECOWAS, African Union, and the foreign organizations. President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, in his capacity as the chairman of ECOWAS, did issue a 7-day ultimatum for the military junta to actually reinstate the democratically elected president, Mohamed Bazoum. Of course, the failure to do so was given the sanction of the possibility of a military takeover to restore President Bazoum. We saw the junta taking counter measures, including the closure of its airspace, citing threats to their existence, and of course, shortly after that, with the interference of mediation by Sanusi, we saw the Niger junta being open again for negotiations and dialogue. Now, part of the things the Niger junta did say was that the ECOWAS did not pay attention to its side of the story, which of course is one of the reasons that resulted in the coup in Niger. But there have been a lot of concerns on the part of Nigerians, particularly considering the fact that we've seen these pattern beginning to spread out within the sub-region. We saw it happening in Mali, we saw it in Burkina Faso, and now in Niger, and particularly considering the fact that Niger is bordering significantly with Nigerians, and there were anticipations or expectations, or should we call it concern, that these might likely cross border into Nigeria, being the next country to be toppled by the military. But luckily for us, we saw the leadership of the Nigerian military coming out to say that they had not, regardless of the speculations that had made rounds in the media, received any request to topple Tinubu's led federal government, and they also pledged their allegiance and loyalty to the president and, in extension, democracy in Nigeria. Now, we'll take a short pause and get to listen to what President Ahmed Bola Tinubu had to say as a result of the end of the ultimatum and the fact that the military junta actually refused to have dialogue with the different delegations sent both from ECOWAS, African Union, and other foreign bodies. When we come back, we'll deal into the conversations today.
We still look to engage the party involved, including the coup leaders, in honest discussion to convince them to relinquish power as suggested and reinstate President Bazoum. It is our duty to exhaust all avenues of engagement to ensure a swift return to constitutional governance. We still look to engage the party involved, including the coup leaders, in honest discussion to convince them to relinquish power as suggested and reinstate President Bazoum. It is our duty to exhaust all avenues of engagement to ensure a swift return to constitutional governance in Niger. More specifically, as leaders of our respective nations, we must recognize that the political crisis in Niger not only poses a threat to the stability of the nations, but also has far-reaching implications for the entire West African. Regrettably, the 7-day ultimatum we issued during the fourth summit has not yielded the desired outcome. We have also made diligent effort through the deployment of various ECOWAS mediation teams. I'm glad Abdul Salam Abubakar is here. His Eminence is here. Baba Konogingibe is here to give you their report and their observation during the intervention. I must, on behalf of every one of you, show gratitude to them.
Nigeria's president and the chairman of ECOWAS there speaking about the military junta in Niger Republic. Now, there are different twists to these. First, let's look at the fact that Nigerians have been worried of the possibility of this coming to the country. And of course, with these concerns have come different experts' opinion. Apart from the military assuring Nigerians that we have nothing to worry about as they remain committed to the order of protecting Nigeria's sovereign integrity. Nigerian security management expert Dr. Blessing Abumere says Nigeria is capable of taking out Niger coupers within 24 hours. Now, according to a statement issued in Abuja, the security expert, who is a certified expert in security management and strategic operations from the International Institute of Professional Security, expressed shock and disappointment over the reaction of some Nigerians to the planned restoration of civil rule in Niger Republic. He said, through the instrumentality of the Economic Community of West African States, led by President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, Nigeria has the capacity to decentralize Niger Republic within 24 hours and restore President Mohamed Bazoum back in office. He said the fears expressed by some Nigerians on the perceived lack of preparedness of the armed forces to deal a decisive blow on the military junta in the shortest possible time is something that should not be mentioned. He said the pervasive sentiment is not a true reflection of the state of the armed forces of Nigeria. Of course, this has raised and sparked a lot of reactions from Nigerians. You're talking about a country with different pockets of insecurity. You're talking about the separatist movement in the southeast. You're talking about the fact that Boko Haram insurgency, ISWAP, banditry, has been a consistent decimal in the security terrain of Nigeria. Of course, we are no longer, strangers to the number of families who've lost family, friends, and loved ones as a result of kidnapping activities of these bandits and the brutal murdering of people whose family cannot afford the huge amount of money asked or demanded as ransom. Now, the questions on the part of Nigerians, of course, where Dr. Bumere is being questioned is, if Nigeria actually has the military might to take care of Niger, go into Niger, and then be able to, within 24 hours, restore the democratic government of President Mohamed Bazoum, how come the Nigerian military has not been able to weed out the criminal element in terms of Boko Haram insurgency, bandits, of course, the question of farmers not being able to get to their farm because of health crises and farmers, and all of these insecurities that have bedeviled Nigeria. We're also talking about the fact that northern traders, within the cause of the closure of the border as part of sanctions placed on Niger Republic as a result of the junta, have said they have lost over 13 billion naira within the last 2 weeks in revenue owing to the closure of the borders in the region. Now, these are all the concerns that have been raised concerning the military takeover in Niger Republic. There are also concerns that these might likely affect a lot more than just the traders. We might be looking into an issue of food scarcity and other things, not just for Nigeria, but also for other African countries who depend on cross-border trading for a lot of other things, staple food and other consumables within the SAP region. But this evening, we will be speaking to our guest, Ambassador Uzoji Peters, who is a broadcast journalist, and of course also the national president, Guild of Radio Station Managers Private in Nigeria. And we will be looking at this issue alongside others. Now, aside from the military coup in Niger Republic, we're also talking about the place of the media in ensuring good governance in Nigeria and the SAP region. Now, we know that as far as democracy is concerned, apart from the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, of course, the media has been described as the fourth estate of the realm, saddled with the responsibility of being the watchdog of not just people in position of power and authority, but the entirety of society, and of course, keeping society abreast and building the bridge between the government and the people by ensuring government programs and activities are publicized, government officials are questioned and held accountable to the people at this point. Now, there's also been concerns, especially in the wake of this present administration, particularly after the just held gathering of the regulatory body of broadcasters in Nigeria, where different questions have arisen as a way of questioning whether or not we might be seeing the press being gagged within the present administration. We're going to try to join a guest, and of course, while doing that, it is also very important for us to note that within the course of all of these, there is also something that is currently trending in Nigeria, the probing by the National Assembly about job racketeering. Last 2 weeks, we saw the arrest of 5 officials from the Ministry of Agriculture, where they were fingered on different fraudulent transactions, diverting of public funds in the tunes of 200 million plus to each of the 5 persons. Now, of course, we know that they're still undergoing investigation, but prior to that, we also saw a staff of the Federal Character Commission being probed, investigated, admitting to actually taking money from Nigerians while giving out jobs, and sometimes not actually giving out this job. So all of these raises a question. Yes, Nigerians have commended the move by the National Assembly to actually probe the different scenarios playing out from job racketeering. But then Nigerians are also asking the question, we've witnessed in this country over the span of the last 80 years, different probing, and it seems like it's a tradition for every incoming administration to begin probe and investigations of MDAs. But shortly after the probe and investigation kickstarts, we as Nigerians never get to hear the outcome and the end point of this probing. Do people get prosecuted for it? Do people get jailed? Do people get to refund the stolen money to the Nigerian coffers? Is the Nigerian people being aware of all the things that actually happen after this probe have been made public? These are concerns, and the big questions on the minds of Nigerians also asked on the judiciary and the legislature in particular. Where are we headed with all of this probe? Is it just another traditional way of making Nigerians feel like the new leadership of the National Assemblies are doing their job in the interest of Nigerians, or is just another charade? We'll focus on these conversations once we come back from this short time out with a guest, Ambassador Uzoji Peters. So stay with us.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Glad to welcome you back. If you just joined us, this is Iron Issues coming to you live on Spectrum Television. Of course, we'd intimated you on what our focus will be from the Niger Republic junta, military coup, and the reactions and different concerns raising from there to the issue of insecurity in Nigeria, and of course not forgetting the role of the media in ensuring good governance. My guest again this evening is Ambassador Uzoji Peters JP. He is the National President Guild or National Guild of Radio Managers Private. Good evening and welcome to Eyes on the Issues, Ambassador.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Welcome to Iron Issues. How are you today?
Very, very well. I thank God it's been a hectic day, and I'm sorry, network has been playing games with us.
I'm so sorry about that.
Once again?
Good evening. I know, let's start on a lighter mood. So today, as far as broadcasting in Nigeria is concerned, we know a new radio house has been added to the list. How does it feel to have a new baby as the President of the National Guild of Radio Station Managers Private in Nigeria?
Wow, bro, it's quite nostalgic and very, very interesting. And as bad as the economy is, people are still investing in the industry, which gives me some element of elation and happiness. So I am very, very happy. Today I tell you, I was in Ebonyi State in company of the National Vice President Southeast, Okudogu of the Dream FM, and the National General Secretary, Samuel Adjofo JP, were there. And in fact, we had a very wonderful interaction section with the governor of the state and the owner of the radio station, talking about distinguished Senator Obinna Ogba. He was a House Committee, Senate Committee chairman on sports, and he was quite voracious in his days at the Green Chambers, upper chambers,
All right, so let's jump into the focus of our discussion this morning. We're talking about media. Just a few days ago, we saw the NBC was speaking to Nigerian broadcast station, speaking to broadcast stations in Nigeria. Part of the things that have been said at this point, part of the conversations media houses are having is the role of BON and other regulatory organizations or regulatory bodies in Nigeria in ensuring that, you know, broadcast media owners are able to operate functionally in this economy. But that's not going to be a focus. Rather, let's look at the role of the media in ensuring that, you know, democracy, good governance is given to the Nigerian society. What would you say the role of the media is, especially as we are witnessing some level of attempts by government officials and from government quarters to seem to control what the press puts out to the Nigerian public?
That's rather unfortunate, and I'll tell you emphatically with that mincing word, it won't work. All over the world, in our clime, it works set up. Because I can tell you authoritatively, the media, the media is the fourth realm of the estate. We are supposed to be consultative, you know, in every activities of government and governance. So there is no way you can tell me that the regulation agencies will come by and say they want to gag us. It's not possible. You see, it's unfortunate. And I thank God for the guild. Now, if you look at the history, before now, the guild, before the emergence of the guild, we have never had a body that will speak for us and that will put us together and say, look, this is the private radio or private broadcast institution, and we have a say. So basically, I'm happy this is happening now. And whether born, the only body I can actually attribute some credence to as to the management of information as regarding the broadcast code is the NBC, National Broadcast Commission. So BORN is like, is designed for the radio owners or broadcast owners. So professionally speaking, it's going to be a very, very, very dicey situation should federal government and its agencies or parastatals trying to guard the media. I want to let you know that it's going to be it's going to be an effort in futility given to this reason. Well, first and foremost, we have the people's journalists, which is the social media. So there's nothing you want to hide. There's nothing you want to add colors or colorate that people won't see and talk about. So it's going to be a very dicey job for them. And as it is now, every Nigerian, an average Nigerian, is well informed, whether misinformed or well informed. You understand? So basically, they need to tread softly, because as you look at what is unfolding generally, as the real issues are happening today, or the circumstances happening today, you want to ask yourself one honest question. Are we giving the right information? Are we really guiding the people right? So these are the questions you ask. Is the government doing the right thing? Okay, like in the previous administration, you had the aides of president in the media coming to backlash everything that was done in the time past. But right now, you can't do all that as well. I give it to Tinubu, President Tinubu. As it stands today, he has not, put down a hamper that this is the way we want to deal with the media. So we've seen him rescinding some things or step down on certain.
Sorry about that network interference there, but of course, what we're able to.
Francis, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome back. Sorry, we had a little network glitch. Well, go ahead.
So, for me, like I said before the network issue, we have seen Mr. President take certain actions and decisions. For instance, the education subsidy removal, where schools, federal government schools, increased from 2026 or thereabout to 100,000. And immediately the pressure came from the media. They rescinded that. They have dropped that. Not that it's been killed, but he says they should stop. Another part of it is the electricity tariff bill. And by now you should be paying double. Now, you see, we are not saying Nigerians don't want to pay tax. Nigerians would want to pay tax. Nigerians would want to sustain the economy of the country. But let's put on mechanism that will cushion this pain. Rather than begin to declare that subsidies have been removed, what are the processes? It was after you had announced that subsidies have been removed. You are not thinking about palliative, which we are not even happy with. How many people will get the proposed 8,000 naira from Mr. President or from the presidency? Will it get to the people? Now, what is the system of dropping it? They will drop it with the federal state government. State government will now either modulate it before sending it to the local government. If it has been directly sent to the local government, it becomes obvious that at least, no matter how bad the local government managers are, they'll be able to distribute to a certain percentage of the people. So basically, we have a lot of anomalies coming from the policies of the federal government.
All right, as you rightly posited, now we have a lot of anomalies coming from the federal government, and it seems the issues are further aggravated by the fact that President Ahmed Bola Tinubu is not just Nigeria's president, but also the chairman of ECOWAS, and he's significantly involved in the situation in Niger Republic. Now, we've seen that the Nigerian traders have reported they have lost over 13 billion naira in the last 2 weeks over the closure of Nigerian border with Niger. And that's just about an aspect of the concerns of Nigerians. But let's look at the body language of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. We've seen the president issue directive to politicians not to talk down on Nigerians, not to talk down on the media. We've seen different comments also coming from the presidency purporting that he intends to operate a more transparent government. But judging from what we have seen so far, the policy statement that is coming from the presidency, the palliative question, and the fact that while the Nigerian populace are yet to get the palliative from the federal government, the National Assembly have had theirs. And of course, while we also have money budgeted for the Nigerian populace, we've had a huge amount of money also set aside for the National Assembly. I'd like to get your thought on this. Sincerely apologize.
Are you there?
Yes, okay, welcome. Go ahead.
Okay. right, it's very unfortunate. The president has said that he doesn't want anybody to talk down on Nigerians and palliative issues here and there, not properly defined, not properly clarified. So I would say that is inconsistent and it's unacceptable because we don't know where those things will drop. But again, asking me about the National Assembly, we have seen the president of the Senate, distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio. He has come, we saw the goof on the national television and it's been better on social media. It's quite pathetic when you want to ask me. The National Assembly or the Senate, or all of, National Assembly, they have their packages intact. Why the populist packages are nowhere to be found? It's really, really disheartening and quite saddening that at this particular time in our life history, we have to go through this over and over again. Well, it's unfortunate we don't have representatives as far as I'm concerned, because an average representative will be fighting for the people, not for their pocket. You saw the group for the national television on the floor of the National Assembly. Do they represent us? No, they don't. They say you can go and enjoy your holiday and something has been fed into your account of email. You know, for me, it's really pathetic and I don't know, Nigerians don't trust their representatives. So that is the major crux of the matter here.
All right, Ambassador, there's something that happened as a result of the Senate President's, speech on national TV, as he had said. But it seems even the Nigerian society is divided. Why some sections of the Nigerian society have commended Senator Godswill Akpabio, the Senate President, for making that revelation openly. Others have criticized it. We saw the likes of CRAP threatening to sue the Senate President. And of course, we also have the human rights group commending the President for what he said. For some reasons, they agree that, the statement by the Senate President has made clear what Nigerians had before now known as based on speculations. Do you agree with this standpoint?
Well, I agree. I stand with Serap. I stand with the CSOs. I stand with them in totality, in agreement, because the impoverished Nigerians are suffering. I can tell you, I was in Ebonyi State today, and what I saw on the streets of Ebonyi is very, very, very disheartening. On the street of Enugu is painful when you see people go through pains, and we have representatives who squander our wealth out there. They have their own end secured. Who secures the end of the populace? So that's the point here. So it's a revelation. So those who criticize will criticize. But I think it was not intentionally that the Senate President decided to
I do hope that your network will allow us to have this conversation.
Hello, Francis.
Yes, go ahead. Welcome back.
So, like you said, like established already, for me, it's a divine intervention. You know, in Nigeria, we like praying a lot. So I think it's a divine intervention that revealed that to Nigerians. I will tell you, the Spirit have revealed that, not human, not that the Senate President had intentionally wanted to divulge those secrets, but it was unplanned for. You will see that it was uncoordinated when he was making those statements. So it became obvious. So it was a revelation that we Nigerians should embrace. You understand? So those who want to sue him can sue him. Does such a blunder desire an apology or total resignation? But in Africa, we don't see our leaders resign. Nobody resigns from any position when you are accused of wrongdoings and whatever. So for me, it was a revelation that was divinely orchestrated for Nigeria to know those we call our representatives.
All right, let's come back to the issue of insecurity. Now, part of the news, very disturbing news that surfaced within the course of the weekend because of the military takeover in Niger Republic was that there were speculations and reports on the social media that the military in Nigeria have received requests to topple the government of Ahmed Bola Tinubu. But we saw the leadership of the Nigerian military coming out to debunk those claims that they have not received any of such requests. They also reiterated their loyalty to democracy and, of course, the person of Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But then, of course, we saw Professor of Security Management, Dr. Vabere, coming out to say that Nigeria's military has what it takes to, within 24 hours, put an end to the military junta in Niger Republic. And the streets of social media is very hot right now because of this statement. Now, we're talking about Nigeria with a different space of insecurity. Who has not been able to address these issues? But a specialist in the field of security is telling us that we can do that. The question Nigerians are asking is, if Nigeria is able to, or would have been able to address the issue within 24 hours in Niger Republic, why is it taking the Nigerian military so much and the security experts so much to profess solutions to the insecurity we are currently facing in Nigeria? I'd like to get your reaction to, these different concerns.
For me, everybody is entitled to their opinions. First and foremost, Nigeria does not have any business coup in Niger, as far as I'm concerned, because we are still battling with our own internal insecurities. In Southeast, we have sit at home, which the governor of Enugu State, Barrister Ndubisimba is struggling to stop. And then we have the insurgency in the northern part of Nigeria, which for the past, how many years? 8 to 9 years, we've not had a solution to. So rather than deploy our military,
Sincere. All right, welcome back. Yes, welcome back. Sorry about the network glitches.
Okay. No, it's okay. So rather than the federal government or security experts providing solutions that federal government or Nigerian military they have what it takes to quash the coup stop in Niger within 24 hours, I would rather ask that they deploy that to troubled areas of the country and make sure that Nigeria becomes peaceable and peaceful before they can now, in fact, like the scripture will tell you, before you remove the speck in somebody's eye, remove the log in your own eyes. So it's rather unfortunate. Probably these are propagandists who are propagating or trying to give the president a soft landing for him to move. You will understand that ECOWAS, which Mr. President presides over, is already divided on this issue. And then Nigerian Senate had not given the statutory approval for us to go to war. So basically, I don't think that it is wise that right now the Nigerian government will be thinking, or anybody will be providing a solution that going to war is going to quash the coup in Niger is a solution that Nigeria must carry. We have our own problem here. May 29th precisely, when Mr. President took over, he announced the removal of the subsidy without taking into consideration the effect or the impact it will have on the populace. So that is one error, one bad error for a good circumstance and a good situation. Because before, you must count the cost before you take an action. So for me, Mr. President would have taken a due consideration to the mileage or the might of the sufferings of the populace before announcing. So it's not something you should have already announced. That is one. Two, this insecurity situation is another thing that Mr. President ought to look inwardly before deciding to say the Nigerian will lead or will spearhead the ECOMOG movement to Niger Republic. Because already we have need for the ECOMOG to intervene in our own internal securities if we are not able. If you tell me now that we are going to Niger, why don't we stop insurgency? Why don't we stop the insecurity in Southeast and the northern part of Nigeria before we now decided to say, okay, our home is good, let's go to war? Do you understand what I'm saying? Let's cop this. Again, it's rather unfortunate. And regarding the other question, part of the question you asked me, yes, it's mere speculation that the military are toying with the idea to topple the government. You understand? So for me, I don't buy into all this. It's rather unfortunate. It could be all political propaganda trying to buy or
Well, of course, we saw the Nigerian military telling Nigerians and reassuring Nigerians and the presidency there will be no such move in Nigeria, which of course is reassuring and heartwarming. Welcome back, Ambassador Peters. Sorry, today's network seemed a little bit unfriendly, but let's quickly jump into the last conversation we need to have this evening. Now, for the last 1 week or thereabout, we've been seeing different probing and investigations of job racketeering within ministries, departments, and agencies of government. We've seen from the Federal Character Commission people admitting on national TV during investigation at the National Assembly of actually taking money from Nigerians to give out jobs. We've seen also 5 arrests have been made from the Ministry of Agriculture. People found to have been diverting public funds meant for awareness and monitoring of government projects. And of course, it is no longer news to Nigerians that these things have been happening. But then beyond the investigations and probe by the National Assembly, the concerns of Nigerians, which I'd like for you to speak as a Nigerian at this point, is will we ever get to a point where these probes translate into people who have found one thing being tried before a competent court of jurisdiction and actually going in for it and facing the full wrath of the law? And in the event that this is not happening, which of course Nigerians have seen over time, why do we have these incessant probing when we know that it is not going to lead to any destination?
Well, I will simply put this like a Nigerian factor. I want to commend the member representing Enugu, Uzowani. Enugu is a federal constituency that comprises of Uzowani and I can't get it right now, but I'm talking about Professor Sunday Wamuchi, who actually moved that motion. He saw the wrath as an academia. He saw the wrath in the that national commission, character commission, and he saw it and he knew, and that was why he's supposed to be. I had an interaction with him before he left for Abuja, and we were following him, and I am really happy. I'm rather happy with the revelations we have seen so far. This is, I mean, that has been the bane of Nigerian problem. Federal Character Commission, where people buy slot, where you don't do it right. So for me, it's a good thing. And talking about the court, honestly, which is supposed to be the last hope of an average Nigerian, do we really trust them? Do we believe that the judiciary would one day competently, comprehensively, for any person that is arrested for any crime, political crime, you know, fund embezzlement and all those stuff? Have we seen anybody walk into the jail? Let me paint a picture for you here. Some years back, between 2023 and 2024, when, is it 2024?
As 2014 or 2015? Ambassador Peters, are you with us?
Hello, Francis.
Yes.
I was going to paint a picture. Between 2003 to 2007, shortly after Ignition left as governor of Edo State, and then he was accused of embezzling some money. And I was in Abuja, I was in Abuja, and he was arraigned. During the tribunal, they did everything. At the end of the day, he was found guilty. At the end of the day, he was made to pay an amount that was ridiculous. He paid a fine. And in the evening, towards Edo Lodge, I saw him drive home in a new BMW. He was playing music and he was, you know, this was a man that was just less than about 5 hours after he was sentenced. He was driving home a happy man. So tell me, and now you can see where it is worsened, because when you look at the ruling party today, every politician that has been dubbed fraudulent or criminal, or they have had one problem with them or not, or the other, have gone in and run into their own house. I wouldn't use the word umbrella because PDP, you know, the identity is umbrella. So they've gone into APC and they are shielded. So, I mean, it's rather pathetic to note here that we've not had one example to show, except if you are opposing the sitting government. That's just a problem. Okay? So that's a major problem here.
So before we let you go, as we go forward, there are different fears and concerns in the minds of Nigerians. Let's narrow it down to just the palliative issue. Now, at this point in time, Nigerians, in as much as the respective state governors have said they're collected XYZ number of bags of rice from the federal government, this, of course, we can agree, is not sufficient enough to address the effect of the subsidy removal. We're also talking conversations around further increasing the fuel prices, even though NNPC have come out to say they have no plans to increase the pump price. Of course, we also recall what happened between 29th of May to 31st of May after Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the president, declared that the era of fuel subsidy was gone. Now, in the event of these, Labour Congress, NLC, TUC, other organizations in Nigeria are advocating for an increment in the salary structure, some level of salary wager to ensure that civil servants are able to pay their way to work. I'd like to get, by word of advice, or what would be your commendation to the federal government and the state government to help workers and indeed the generality of Nigerians go through this very tough period?
Well, I don't really think I have any words of counsel here, because this ought to have been taken into consideration before the announcement was made.
Sorry.
Hello, Francis.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Go ahead.
Before the horse. You don't put the cat before the horse. The cat are usually behind the horse. So for me, whatever Jankara arrangements now,
I think we lost Ambassador Peters there, but sincerely, it's been quite a wonderful conversations. But unfortunately, this is where we're going to have to take a pause on today's edition of Iron Issues. My guests have been Ambassador Uzoji Peters. Of course, he's the national president, National Guild of Radio Station Managers Private in Nigeria, talking about the issue of the Niger junta, of course, job racketeering, and the level of corruption in Nigeria, not also forgetting the insecurity that we're currently facing and the need for Nigerian government to do everything within its powers to address this concern. I'd like to appreciate you for being part of today Iron Issues. Sincerely apologize for the network glitches that couldn't allow us to have very smooth conversations, and of course, but we truly appreciate you and look forward to having another conversation on the next edition of Iron Issues. Many thanks for joining us. I remain Francis Oyima. To have a lovely evening.